other the church-related donors like World Gospel Mission.
Thank you. I think we get all of it, will not move out of this place, but we appreciate that.
I guess I did drop up one thing that I had, and that we also drop up.
So just confirm how stable you are on this particular job. Okay.
Now, I'm a trained and practicing architect, and I've done that for a long time. To do and produce the projects we do, we work as a team, and the team will comprise civil structural engineer, mechanical and electrical engineers, a quantity surveyor, and sometimes other specialized technicians where necessary, like we bring in surveyors if there are matters requiring that on the land, and so on. Now, this are things I've done over and over again. It's a way of life for me. And when I look at the position that I'm being vetted for, there's an element of building works. And it's not to be, let's just be very well. Let me put it my own way, not in any other at all. But my understanding is that first and foremost, for one to be appointed as a state officer, this should be based on your integrity, your competence, and suitability. Now, once appointed, you must be alive to the fact that this is a delegated mandate to you by the people. So you're not getting appointed to become a governor, but otherwise you're actually being appointed to be a people's servant. So you should listen to what the people want, and in whatever you execute, you should keep that in mind. In other words, subordinate your personal interests and agenda, and give emphasis and put ahead of everything else the public service. The other thing is that now as a state officer, the public look at you with extraordinary scrutiny, something they may not be doing to me right now from what I do where I am. And so it is expected that you must conduct yourself in a manner that inspires confidence in the public, in the sense that you are impartial and objective in your decision making. We have the usual things of your friends, relatives, whatever other groupings that may be that are discriminatory. You must refrain from that and know that for this particular office, you are actually a public servant and you must do as such. And like it happens to the best of us, should you find yourself in a situation where there is conflict of interest, then you must be in a hurry to declare conflict of interest. And where necessary, remove yourself from the process, where clearly if you continue, you'll be conflicted, and therefore you will not be giving the best one needs to give to the public. We are also cautious about things like how you get gifts. And now if you're getting gifts from your line of service, you'll be going against the provisions of this particular chapter on leadership and integrity. And if you really must take it, then take it and hand it over to, shall we say, the owner is the Republic of Kenya, because it's in that respect that gift is coming through. And then you must bear in mind that should you be found on the wrong side of the requirements of this chapter, you may be subjected to some disciplinary action, and it could get as bad as where you are actually completely blocked from ever holding public office. And then we have seen it again and again. One must be alive to the fact that we have the ESC, which has been set up to, as it were, be the policeman to ensure that we're keeping within the provisions of this particular chapter, and that every so often you may be in their crosswires to just confirm that all is well and you're walking the right path.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Now, the second question. I want you to look at the issue of challenges and how you expect to handle them. So, if you are aware of any other challenges that are part of the way to lead and how you propose to deal with them, as you think about that, there are three other challenges I want you to add there and just respond on how you intend to deal with them. My first challenge is how you're going to serve as a CEC with your private practice in place. That's number one. Number two, I'm looking at this position as being a government, and government becomes politics. And from your records here, you just done maybe a year in your life in government circles. You both of them worked in the government organizations or private practice. So given that challenge, how do you, to me I feel it's a challenge, but I don't know how you take it, but let's understand how you maneuver the aspect of not having worked in government on and on, and now here you have this position which has some political connotation. And looking through your record also, you've not been part of the political journey in this country or county. And again, I feel it's a challenge which I understand how you deal with it. And then the third challenge is and I'm sorry, that meant that you experience, you've done so much, but within the other circles of mentioned, but not in government. Now you're coming into a particular field. We just want to understand how you plan to manage those two plans that you are practicing private practice as you do the work as a CEC. And then if you know any other challenges in that ministry, which you also need to deal with, and how to deal with them. I think this panel will be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You've asked me very many questions. If I forget some of them and I think I'm finished, please remind me. But let me start with the ones I see as the main ones. The first one is private practice. This appointment. I already sought for counsel from a legal team, and they are categorical, and it's as well spread out in chapter 6. I have to step out of the practice completely, be removed, and let the partner proceed with it, because chapter 6 doesn't allow me to take up any other form of employment engagement on top of this. So that's clear to me, and the process of disengaging is in year in advance if it becomes necessary at the end of it all. That's clear to me. That's number one. Number two, the challenge that you see and feel for me for coming into a system that has a political dimension, and yet I have not been. Now, I have been working in this country, not in China, and you may just be surprised. Sometimes I wonder whether the amount of politics out there is not even more than the real politics. And I'll tell you why. the beauty about the raw politics that we associate government with is that a lot of times things are put out there as they are and you deal with them. But some of where we are coming from, there is what they call in Kenya politics, so that it's always an ambush, you know. Like let me tell you, the projects I've done which are funded by the USAID, they do not pay VAT on the project. You have to get a VAT exemption. That means you have to deal with care, you have to deal with treasury. Now, when you start to deal with treasury and KRA for the getting exemptions, you come right in contact with what you're talking about. And you probably can get caught up in, what the late Michael Mother used to call that, committing a small injustice in search of greater justice. So at times you encounter a situation where this is the dead end of 100 million project funding a community. But your patience and your extraordinary resilience comes into play to really tolerate the kind of dynamics that you're describing, which are found in the political world. So inevitably we have been a part of that. So for me, this will not be really new. And also, there are other projects, many other projects where there's a community involved, some of them there's a church involved, and the interests and the dynamics are such that if you say this is how it is, and it's 1, 2, 3, that project will collapse. So you have to search for your best wisdom in terms of, if you're not taught in school enough, in terms of how to really strike that harmony, in a very delicate balancing to be able to secure the project. So I think it's something that I did the induction, not too long. I think you should get one into their feet and able to coexist.
Thank you.
Like I said, he asked me very many questions. The last one I had was if I see any challenges that I'm going to find in this department if I'm appointed. Yes, I see a number of them. Like we know everywhere, newspaper, we see it on TV, the challenge of pending bills in relation to roads and building works. I see that as a challenge. So that needs to be dealt with. Another challenge that I see, I may not be accurate since I'm an outsider, is some gaps and limitations with the engineering, architectural and engineering capacity within the department to effectively deal with some of these things. And the third one is inadequate resources coming through to fund the work that is set out under the ministry.
Thank you.
Thank you, engineer. I'd like if you have a pen.
Yes.
Yeah, use your pen so that you don't. So I'll give you 3 questions. I'll talk long, but for you to be concise in answering, because it is a case study that I'm giving you that is very, very. Now, how do you talk about resources? Now, how innovative will you be to jumpstart stalled projects like roads, whereby contractors were awarded tenders? They were awarded tenders that were not in the budget. They are pending bills, which is a problem. And there were tenders that were rightfully awarded, but the contractors had no capacity, or knowing very well that there is no money. How will the people of Kakamega count on you on getting the value of their money? That is number one. Swali number B. The government of Kenya under last regime of His Excellency of Paranya tried to develop this country on road, or maybe say road infrastructure. But unfortunately, most of the works were not done across board or balance in development of infrastructure, especially on roads. I'll be very specific. Most concentration was done in southern region. But some counties in the northern, like Navajo and Malaba, have not even an inch of tarmac roads for the last 10 years. If they are there, it's of the national government. So what immediate steps will you take to correct this imbalance, or will you continue with this trend of marginalization in this new government? Then lastly, this one is very touchy and very brief. There are many idle machines in the public works yard. Some because of just minor issues. You can find maybe just a battery on a tractor or whatever. How can these machines be utilized to improve our road networks or offers services? Thank you, Engineer Chairman.
Thank you. Let's have the answers.
Thank you, Chairman. And, most appreciated for your advice to Secretary, so that I not miss it. Let's start with the first question. And here you are saying we have stalled projects. And this is informed by mainly two areas, two problems. One, the project was awarded on the budget. And two, the contract was properly awarded. The contractor has no capacity. Of course, I struggle to appreciate that a project can be awarded without budget. But like I say, what is done, you are awarding the seats. What you do. What I see here as the best thing to do is, and remember I'm an outsider, there must be some kind of strategic plan or county integrated plan. Out there we call them strategic plan. And packaging the governance manifesto into a 5-year strategic plan. Now, out of that, of course, there's rationalization that comes in from the different stakeholders in the different counties. So, what I want to do is, of course, deal with the contractual matter first. And this is discharging the contractor, because there's something called contractual claims. If I'm a contractor and you award me a project and you do not have the capacity to fund it, I continue making claims, because how should I have known that you have no resources? For me, I was properly recruited and awarded, and you take my hands, I can't move. So there may be a level of negotiation and a level of legal processes. This is where I will probably ask the contractor, give and take, where they exercise some patience for us to properly bring back the project, approve plans and budget, and then circulate it after a year or two when the processing required of approvals have been done. And another way, because some contractors can be quite uncooperative, is to get a legal process whereby there is some damages to pay, and you remove that particular contractor from the scene. And after you have removed the external parties, we will now go back and see where this fits in the county strategic plan. And because the expectations were there, since this must have been told to the public that this road is coming, then we will see how to fast track it and put it in the earliest annual plan and budget for it to come on as a new project. And if we parted peacefully with the previous contractor, one could consider how we could come on board, but through the set out procurement processes. And if we parted in a not very nice way, then it will be a new cycle of procurement like any other. Then, of course, dissemination of information to the people so that they appreciate the difficulties and the challenges that got us there. But I believe some officer somewhere is in real trouble for having let this pass without budgetary allocation. Then two, the one of a contract awarded to somebody without the necessary capacity. The contract normally has clauses which provide for either party in the contract on what remedial measures to do whenever the other party defaults on its obligation. I guess I would invoke the clauses on what we call determination of contract. In English, I think we call it determination in technical legal language, we refer it as determination of contract. And then, given that this was a contract that was in the plans and was funded, how to fast track the process of it being included in the next annual year that comes and the necessary procurement processes to get a new contract in place. Now, let me move on to the second question. And I guess this is where you're saying with the politics, which is not where I am currently. The imbalance in the roads development, where the concentration was on the southern side, and like you say, I need to come abroad in Galapagos. Now, again, one of the things that I would do, not just for this, but generally, is to get an appreciation of where things are as the end of the cabinet. Some kind of quick assessment, or if such a report is ready, then this matter will already be there. I'll try and understand how that came about. Not so that I fight with how it is, how it came like that, but so that I know how to take corrective action. And what I can tell you is that for a clear case where one feels that there's nothing imbalance, I think I would deliberately go out of my way to get some level of public participation and confirming that what they're asking for is actually in our strategic plan, we call it the county integrated plan, and then fast track it to the nearest financial year that there is with the necessary budget, so that at least one will have an excuse at that time to say, for whatever reasons, good or bad, this didn't quite, give a reading on a Richter scale, whereas in the southern side, So I would want to actually pay special attention and an emphasis in that particular area to bring them to, more or less where the others are. But again, like I say, I've seen this in my village, where some roads have not been done, a big chunk of the road has not been done, because some community member or members just refuse that the road can't pass here. So the road is done here, they skip and they do here. At least I know about 2 roads in my village. So if they have those kind of things, then it will be necessary to give them ahead of time so that again they don't become part of the obstacle. Then the final one, this is about the idle machine. I want to believe that in a department like this, there must be some hierarchy and some level of responsibility assignment to people doing different things. So the person who is responsible for these machines would have to interrogate in detail and understand exactly what the gaps are, the problems are. And given that this is a high investment plant, I would want us to establish, use the word minor, implying that whatever is required may not be very, very costly. And I would want to get those fixed as quickly as possible and put on some program of work with the necessary maintenance budget. If some of it comes from user fees, depending on who is using it, or if it entirely depends on the exchequer, So those are things that, after finding out how it can be, what it is, and the exact situation, I want to definitely not want that kind of line item, but to make use of it for it to create some economic benefit by being good to you.
Thank you. Honorable Oliver.
Thank you, Engineer. As far as your work is concerned, if given the opportunity to serve as a CEC in this particular ministry, you must be understanding that there has been an outcry that some parts of the country have very substandard roads compared to others. What will you do to address this? And the construction of county assembly has been transferred to the Department of Public Works. Explain to this committee that what you will do to ensure that this is done within the near future.
And I think as you have that question, especially when you are tendering, you want to pass the move down, and they are looking at this building and wondering, why do you have lights on? And yet it's daytime. Something about green energy. So you may have a question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Madam. Let me start with Madam's two questions, and I'll come to the Honorable Speaker's question on green energy. Now, when you're talking about building works, road works, and I guess even energy, the moment you talk about substandard works, your culprit is known. The supervisors, the designers. And this kind of ties to what I indicated earlier, that do we really have adequate engineering and building construction technical team capacity? Yes or no? Maybe it's yes. If it's not, then we seek for it, because we can't do without it, others shall continue to experience substandard works. If it's not, rather, if we have the technical capacity and yet we experience that, then somebody somewhere needs to go through some disciplinary action. I have supervised buildings on my works, my life. And if things become substandard, don't blame the contractors. Contractors are always looking for the easiest way out, but they don't get their way unless the supervisor allows it. So this purely lies on the either capacity or the supervisor being inadequate or just bad manners. And so the action required is clear, whatever the case may be. I would not want to be part of that. In the interest of time, I know something about substandard road works. Where my village is, we have a traditional road. I do not know better English word to use it, but it has a firm ground. In my language, we call it amaku. And it never had potholes. You can do whatever you want, you will never get potholes. Now, we got the benefit of getting the roads done. What did they do? They brought maram and put on top of it, and that maram was marked. My cry as a technical person was, I wish we just get a grader to remove somebody's maram and go back to the original road as it was. Now, who isn't doing the work? The supervisor. Either they know or they don't. So that can be fixed without much problem. Now, the second question.
Engineer.
Yes.
Don't you think this also has through the speaker, the chair, don't you think this has a problem or a connection with the issue of bills of quantities? What do you understand by by this bill of quantities? What will be your rationale for the preparations of the bills of quantities, and how to avoid variation of PQ, since it has costed this county a lot of money in preparation of this, because of poor preparation, it has costed this county a lot of money. For example, the project at Shamahu. So
Okay.
talk about, give us something, elaborate on what you understand by that and how you're going to help us come up with those errors.
I hear you, Madam. I'm losing another question in time, but I don't know which one. Should I take this first? You can return to the other.
I wanted to interject it because the question, my question on bill of quantities is in connection with the issue of poor road network, poor workmanship.
Let me deal with it. Let's get it out of the way. I think it might also take off a few other things. Now, normally we have what we call the building team. The building team normally comprises of the architect, the different engineers, civil structural, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and sometimes surveyors come on board as part of the team, and sometimes as a separate resource person. The architect is the lead of this team. So the architect is the initial creator of the project. And after I have completed my design and shared it out with the client ministry, whatever the form will take, and it's approved. He said, yes, this sounds exactly what I want. The next thing I do, I get the structural engineer to introduce what we call the structural members. The vertical structural members, horizontal structural members, vertical and anomaly walls and columns, horizontal and anomaly slabs and beams. And the columns and the beams will normally, like the slab will normally have civil reinforcement inside. So the engineer has to design the sizing of the column, the sizing of the wall, the size of steel to be in the slab or in the column, and the ties and the spacing and all that. After the engineer has finished his work, for the engineer, he does the math to see that this thing will actually stand. It will not cave in. You see, we have a lot of bearings coming down in Jammu. So the engineers, structural engineers, make sure that doesn't happen. After we have finished that, we now give the architectural drawing and the structural drawings to a quantity surveyor. In this country, quantity surveying is a specialized profession, and all they do is to take my drawings and measure how much wall of 8 inches thickness we have, how much surface area cluster of the mix 1 to 2 do we have, or the mix 1 to 3 do we have, and they measure what are the sizes of the reinforcement in the pillar. You know, we are using D6 4 number with the links of D8 at spacing of 250. So he interprets all that engineering and architectural stuff into quantities. So you get in a document that has quantified everything that we have put in the drawing. Then he goes a step further. There's what we call the specifications, like general ones and technical ones. In the specification, they describe the materials and distinguish whether this type of sand or that type of sand, this type of cement or that type of cement, this size of ballast or this size of, all of that are described in detail. And even the method of the building technology, so all that is described. And he does the math and gives you how much the building costs. Now, this is what happens. A lot of times, for whatever reasons, we're in such a hurry to get the project procured that we do not exhaustively do our design. So we kind of design as the procurement is going on. Naturally, there are things you have forgotten which you get later, and you're forcing them in there. This includes going to the site to do site investigations. The type of soil. It's not been unusual, by the way. There's a building I was doing in Karatina where we had a pillar sitting right, and when they excavated, the site had all pillar fins, so the pillar was sitting right where the pillar fin is. Are you going to have a column that is, 10 meters in the ground before it sticks out? So there's some engineering
support that is there. Now that costs more than we had envisaged. Now we do site investigations through trial pits and all those things to establish all those things. And when you've done a good job as a consultant, if you do a good job as a consultant, then you discover that when you now get to procurement, there's hardly anything you want to do that is not already captured. So that having, or generally not being a very disciplined technical person, is one big reason why we get pickings that are really not exhaustive, and therefore along the way you run into these variations. But let me just say this: variation is not a sin. At times there are really genuine variations, but they will be on the minimum side. And a good example is where you investigate the site everywhere, and there's this little place where there is an old big platina, and you just don't come across it until when you're digging your economy. So those kind of things here and there, but they would be, dismal. What accountants would call not material. But where you have substantial amounts coming in as variations, somebody didn't do their work. Now, a DQ is the basis upon which you enter into a contract. And like you rightly so say, where I'm coming from, sometimes we have what we call fixed sum contracts, especially the American funded projects. You don't come back. If you come back, then they fire you as the architect. It means we are paying you, and you're really not doing your work properly. Can be no variations. The only time there can be variations is where it is one of these things that really, how could you have been and not God? And even then, for them, when that comes, they don't pay. They say, now, whoever the beneficiary is, you see what you do about it. And of course, variations gives us, the engineers, very bad name. The assumption is always that you do deliberate so that you can load them. That is something I would want to distance myself very much from. And how do I do that? Getting the technical team to do a good job. Before we are saying, look here, let's have procurement, we definitely have to do a good job. And that will eliminate. If you want the example you are giving, or you say, well, I'm sure there must be one rush, there must be some kind of rush. Two, the designers did not do a good job. Maybe they didn't even come to the site, they are doing big things for a site they have not seen, and therefore they are making assumptions. And things just popped up which complicated their lives. Okay? So I know there are two other questions hanging. There was one from you about the county assembly. What was it?
The construction of the county assembly.
Yes.
So the construction of the county assembly has been transferred to the Department of Public Works. Explain to the committee what you will do to ensure that this is done within the near future. And the speaker added items that this where we are sitting on the current chamber is condemned. So we need a new chamber like yesterday.
Let me respond. Now, given the rights I'm hearing about variations and those kind of challenges, I would want to establish where it is at now.
Has the place already been procured, or is it at a state where somebody can do a rapid interrogation just to be sure that there's no loose end that is going to get us back? That example you're giving of Shamahu. And if indeed there are glaring areas, I want to ban the midnight oil and clean them up. So that you get any variation, no more variations, but not those very vicious ones. So that is one. And two, I want to ensure that the project is allocated proper technical capacity to process it, especially 2 areas actually. Getting a contractor who has the capability, because that's another area that we get it wrong. And two, assigning the supervision team who are qualified and committed. And of course, one way you measure the commitment is that every time they have a site meeting, they must bring back reports, and the reports must have concerns noted and actions to follow, and by who. And those will be discussed, at the office, and the necessary authorization given to the different people who must do different things to bring the necessary guidance on site on what needs to be done. The other reason that sometimes we have a problem, and this now comes back to the grant, is if once the construction starts, honorable speaker and members, go ahead and start changes. It's not changes. Now changes. Go to that.